This is the Pubs and Pints podcast. All right, so we have Tommy Whyte, a longtime friend. We've known each other for it's got to be over 30 years now. Well over 30 years.
Yeah, time goes by, right?
Yeah. We first met each other with the bagpipe band. I came in the band probably 1994, and at that time you were the chairman of the bagpipe band.
Sure, if I was chairman when you came in, or I thought it might have been a little bit before, but I guess it was, yeah. It was 94, I was chairman then.
Yeah, you were the chairman when I came in. Yep. But we had a lot of good years, a lot of fun.
Oh, no doubt.
A lot of laughs. We did a lot of traveling, different places. But so let's go before you even got on the fire department. Like, why don't we go back to where you grew up and your heritage? Tell me a little bit about your Irish background.
Well, all four of my grandparents were from Ireland. They emigrated here by themselves, and they ended up with a crazy thing about both sides, my dad's side and my mom's side, is that they both met, they met while they were in the States. But as it turns out, my grandfather on my mom's side and my grandmother on my mom's side, they lived like right over the hill from each other, and just
Ireland.
outside of Killarney.
Oh.
And so, it's funny that everybody says, oh, it was a coincidence that they met here, but really, if you look back, it probably wasn't, because they probably met at a Kerry dance, that type of, they're from County Kerry. So it was probably, people from that one area, they sponsored a dance, and they probably met that way. Same with my father's parents, where they were from adjoining counties. My grandmother was from Tullamore, was in Offaly, and then my grandfather's from just outside of Mullingar and Westmeath. They didn't live too far from each other, and they met here.
Yeah, I think that was common. I think a lot of the people I talk to, it's the same exact type of thing. I know it was the same way with my grandparents.
Thinking back recently, since it had to have been some kind of a dance or a function, where they were, people from the same area of Ireland. My mom's family, my mom had a big family, so with 6 of them. They went back to Ireland. My mom was born here, but she grew up just outside of Killarney, in the Rathmore section. We still have a lot of family there. I still go see them all the time. I'm not sure how old she was when she came back, but it was probably just before high school, and then they settled in the Highbridge section of the Bronx up on the hill there.
Okay.
And my dad's family, my grandfather came over. I think he only went back once. After when he got married, they went back. Oh, no, I think they went back twice. He went back on his honeymoon, and then I think they went back one other time. But they really, once they came to the States, they stayed here. My father's father, Chris Whyte, he was a decorated World War I hero. And from what my cousins over in Ireland tell me, he wanted to fight the war as an American. In fact, it's funny, when I was going through records, I got my Irish citizenship a few years back. I could have probably just used my mom, being that she was the citizen, that I probably might have had it automatically through her, but I ended up going through the foreign birth registry. So I had to go back and use I used my father's father. And researching his records, I actually found a document where he renounces allegiance to the crown. Not to the Republic of Ireland, but to the crown of England.
Right, at that time,
they were still under England's, the UK's thumb back in those days.
Absolutely.
And but he was a decorated war hero.
That's great. Do you
Oh,
know
yeah. He was quite a man. Lot of colorful New York history with him. He was a bartender by trade, trained in Ireland, came over to the States, worked in that industry, had a whole string of really successful restaurants, mostly in the west side of Manhattan. One of them was where Kennedy's was on 57th Street. They just closed a few years ago. That was White's Cafe for years.
I didn't know that closed.
Oh, yeah, they've been closed. I think it's a Jamaican restaurant or something now. Okay. Last time I looked. But, they're gone. Another piece of New York history gone.
Wow. Every time the Dublin guys would come over, that's kind of like where we would meet. It seemed like the place to go.
It was a great spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was only one of his places. But he had a speakeasy during Prohibition, and I heard the stories of where the cops would come and raid the place, lock him up, and then later that afternoon they'd all be back in there drinking with him. They were just
Yeah.
different days. Or
Different
he might have
times.
had an
Yeah.
apartment upstairs. I don't have all the stories. I actually have a great photo of him on the. It was in the Daily News, and he's hanging funeral bunting outside his bar. One of his places was on 8th Avenue, and it was the night before Prohibition.
Do you know the name of the place, or you wouldn't?
They were all called White's Cafe. One of them was, White's Castle Garden, I think was one spot. No, mostly in Hell's Kitchen is
Yeah.
where his spots were.
Yeah. Geez, I wonder if they would have known my in-laws, my wife's father. He grew up in Hell's Kitchen, and they all worked on the docks, back in the day.
Oh, without
all
a doubt,
controlled
they
the
knew of
docks.
it.
So, yeah.
It
Yeah.
was funny, when I was a young kid, my grandfather gave me, I'm sorry, he had already passed. My grandmother gave me a coin collection that he had, and he was got all currency from all the sailors that came in there from all over the world. In fact, and I just passed it on to my nephew. But there was some really cool stuff in there, from coins from all over the world at that time, from
That's great.
all from his bar, But
Is there any
colorful
photos
history.
of the place? Do you have any photos of the place?
I do have one. Yeah, I have the framed photo of him from the Daily News photo, of hanging the funeral bunting up. I was in there one year. It was the last time I ran the New York City Marathon, and it might have been right after 9/11. And we all ended up in there. Some of my cousins came and met us there, and we were in Kennedy's. And there was a couple of old timers sitting in the corner of the bar. I said, you know what? I'm just going to take a stab and go over and see if these guys remember when it was White. So sure enough, they both perked up, because nobody in there ever even heard of White's. It
Right.
closed back in the 50s.
Yeah.
These guys, they're real old timers. They go, yep, we remember your grandfather. And they go, he would serve us even though we were underage, as long as we had a military ID. In other words, it said that we were in the Army, we were home on leave, because he would serve us.
Sure.
He goes, so it was great to hear some nice things about my grandfather.
Yeah, that's great. Now, do you remember him at all?
Very little.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
he
were
died
young?
when I was fairly young. They were living in Yonkers then, to where we were then. So both grandfathers, my mother's father, he died also when I was pretty young.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
another story from the bar was that my grandfather's brother, John Whyte, he was a real character. How would I describe him? A real man about town. Ladies' man. Supposedly he was good with his hands. He used to box. He said he used to spar with Jack Dempsey. He knew everybody. He knew Jimmy Walker, the mayor. He rubbed elbows with all these guys. He was running the bar one night. I'm not sure if it was during Prohibition or not. I have to look at the date. Actually, I think it was. But anyway, he had to throw some guy out of the bar that night. And the guy came back with a gun and killed him. Yeah, it was, real true, hardcore New Yorkers they became.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
That reminds me of my grandmother's grandfather. He came over and fought in the Civil War.
Wow.
He was captured in the war. We have all the records for this. He was captured. He was a POW, and then he got released at the end of the war. And he goes on and he starts a family. My great grandmother was born. Now, my great grandmother, she died when I was 13, but I remember her very well. And I think about this all the time now. If I had the thought to even ask her, I could have said, "Your father fought in the Civil War." I could have asked somebody that, and the answer
Isn't
would
it
be
amazing?
yes.
And when
Yeah.
they were all alive, we would never think to ask those
I
questions.
would never have thought
because
of
of
that,
the age we were.
Yeah.
Our thoughts were elsewhere,
Yeah. So he died very similar to what you're saying. That's what made me think of the story. Is he came out of church one day, and I actually have the article in the newspaper, but a guy held him up and shot him for his wallet, killed him.
Wow.
And the interesting part of that story is 20 years after that man did in prison, the entire family went to his release and they formally forgave him
Wow.
for killing their father. It just made me think of that because the thing with Charlie Kirk, I saw the thing with his
With
wife.
his wife, yeah.
she forgave this guy. And that was the
That
first
takes
thought that came to my mind.
people, strong character to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I
I
could.
think
God
tremendous
bless them, I
amount of
did.
faith. And yeah. But
Actually,
anyway, okay. So
stand by one sec. I have a
Yeah.
photo. Sorry about that. This, I don't know if you can see it. How does that come up there? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my grandfather in uniform, right just
Yep.
before he shipped out to France.
Wow.
And then next to him was my great uncle, who was
the guy that was
shot.
shot and killed?
Tom Whyte.
Wow.
Yeah, that's out. This is in Camp Upton, Long Island.
Okay.
This is where his unit, the 77th Regiment, the 305th Infantry, that's where they shipped out of.
So that's a crazy story.
On both sides. And then on my mom's side, actually, to stay on my dad's side for a minute, when I was over in Ireland last winter, I spent a little time up in Castle Pollard, right, where there's still a lot of whites up there, but I really don't know them that well. I'm really tight with one of my grandfather's brothers, descendants. They had relocated down to the Clonmel area in Tipperary, and I have one cousin there that I'm tight with, so that's where I spend most of my time when I'm over there, is in Tipperary. But I went up, and I met some of the whites up there, and I'm talking to them, and they filled me in on a few things, and I had a couple of great uncles or whatever. There was a ton of whites. White with a Y. Whyte is how they spell it.
Right.
I'm thinking I'm the first white to be on the FDNY, and one of my cousins there, she's doing a family tree, and she says, no, there was a white that was a fireman in New York. Now that she can't really specify when, but she said he was a driver, drove the wagons, and he was here during the Great Blizzard of '88. He was a fireman in New York, but he only stayed so many years and went back. So
did you ever go to
I'm going to have to see if I can track that down.
The first place I would go to is the FDNY library.
Right, I was told that. Right.
Yeah, that's a good spot.
Problem is I need, a spare 10 minutes that I don't have to go down and do that. But I would love to do that, to go down and to track him down. And they say he was in Brooklyn.
Okay.
That's
the Brooklyn Fire Department back then.
Right. I guess, that was before it was FDNY.
Yeah. But I think the library has all that stuff.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Yeah. But, he'll take away my bragging rights.
That's all right.
Being the first white.
No, that's.
But, and then my mom's side, a lot of colorful history there. They came over, my grandfather and his brother, they got a job on the subways, working for, I guess through Michael Quill in those days. He was the, took care of all the guys from Ireland that came over. My grandfather was a station master. In fact, he worked a lot upstairs from 75 Engine. That was his station.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was one of his stations. I think he worked over in Inwood a little bit on 27th Street, but his brother was on a track gang, and they were all a bunch of Irish guys working. They were taking their break, and I guess they were sitting on a track that was out of service that they were working on, and they were, from what one of my uncles was telling me, they were all sitting on top of the third rail, because it was all de-energized, and they're having their tea, and a dispatcher made a mistake, sent a train down that track and killed them all. This is, well, before my time, actually even before my mom was born. So they, these people, they had tough lives and they came over here, it was,
no doubt.
They were different times than what we know today. Yeah.
The train accidents, my grandfather came home from the war and they bought a house in Levittown. So he's working in the city, but he's coming home on the train, and he was always in the front car. He always stayed in the front car. But it was right around Thanksgiving. I think it was the day before Thanksgiving. He didn't take the train home. He went and got a turkey first. And sure enough, the train that he normally would have taken was in that accident. You maybe have heard of this derailment. I think it was in Richmond Hill, and everybody in the first car was killed.
Oh, I know that story. Yeah.
My grandfather stopped to get a turkey that day.
Oh, my God. You're right. You never know.
You never know.
Your life has the reasons why you, wow. Yeah, I think
that would have been before my mother
signal.
was born, so I wouldn't have existed if it
Yeah,
wasn't for
right.
that turkey.
Yeah, you're right. There was a lot of things that could have happened that could have.
Always lefts and rights. So your parents grew up in a very Irish household,
Absolutely.
and like how Irish were we? Was there Irish music? Was
Oh yeah,
did
yeah. And
any
in fact, I inherited the collection.
okay?
No.
Yeah. Oh, so I have an old
Yeah,
collection
all the
too, of
old
records.
albums and
Like music,
78s,
I wouldn't
all
even
that.
listen to. Some of it I wouldn't even listen to. But how many siblings do you have?
I have 3 younger sisters.
So did you guys do any of the Irish dancing or the Irish football or any of that kind of stuff
No,
growing up?
none of that. No, we're that part of it we didn't do. And I think my sisters might have did a little bit of the Irish dancing,
Okay.
but I didn't really do any of that until I joined the pipe band.
Yeah.
Always
Yeah.
very hyper aware of who I was and where I came from, but
Yeah.
it
Well,
was-
so that's one of my questions, and it's different for everybody, but I do find that there are some people that they talking about Irish Americans, second, third generation, where they feel they don't really have the connection with their heritage when they're younger, but as they get older, they feel it much more. Would you say you kind of fit into that category, or did you always have it about the same?
I'd say about the same.
Yeah, yeah. You had that connection. Did you? How old were you like when you first went to Ireland for your first time?
Believe it or not, I didn't go over to Ireland until the 80s, so I was in my early mid 20s.
Yeah,
That was the first time I went over.
that's the same with me. I was
Yeah.
25.
Yeah, I mean, I knew because we have a lot of cousins that were living here, in Bainbridge and all, and they ended up
Right.
going back. Or, whenever anybody came to visit, we were all right there. We knew them all. More
Yeah.
so on my mom's side. My dad was one of those guys. He didn't like to bust out of the zip code when he was home from work. So
Oh,
it was
sure.
kind of, most of the connection was through my mom's side until I went out and reestablished all the connections with my dad's side of the family.
So what made you get on the fire department?
In let's see, I graduated high school in 76. I wanted to be an electrician. I wanted to go in Local 3. I didn't have the connections. You had to, there were certain families that you had to know and all that, especially more back in those days.
Oh,
I didn't
sure.
have that. But on top of that, everybody was laid off back then. Every time
right.
I would go down and try and put my application in, guys that I knew that were there, they were on furlough. Hey, could you look up my name when you're down there, see when I'm back to work? I'm going, well, this ain't going to work out too good. So
Right.
I ended up, I took the fireman's test in 77. So I came off the 78 list.
Okay. And a great career.
Yeah. Oh, I have not a single regret. That
Yeah.
job's been very
That's
good to
it.
me. I'm out nearly 20 years now. And
I can't believe that.
yeah, isn't that scary? But the
can't.
job still, but with the 9/11 medicals and, I just look at it as they still look out for us.
Sure, they do. Your trips to Ireland. Was your first trip to Ireland with the bagpipe band or friends?
It actually was.
Band?
I went over with the band, and then I made connections before I went over to go visit my mom's family because I knew where they all were. They knew I was coming. So, I went down to them. But then with my dad's family, I knew that, my father had, like I say, he didn't maintain any of these connections. My grandmother was alive then, but she was getting, she was elderly then. But, my dad didn't keep up any of the connections. So I had one of my uncles told me to go. He says, you just go into the town of Feathered in Tipperary. And he says, and you'll see your name White's all over town. He's the town grocer. And across the street, they had a garage, White's Garage. So I was okay. So I had a rental car, I mastered driving on the left. That's what my old girlfriend of mine then. We drove into this town, and I remember walking. As soon as I walked, I saw White's Grocers. And in fact, I have a bunch of photos of that too. I'll send you. I walked in and I saw the guy behind the counter. I says, oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
I could see the family resemblance.
You can see the resemblance,
I told him who I was, and he just froze in his tracks. He just stopped what he was doing. The store was full of people. Small country
Sure.
grocer. And
it's a great feeling, though, right?
It was
that
a great feeling. And from that day, he's still alive. He's still going.
Okay.
And his son Pat is the guy I'm tight with that I always go and see. But from that day on, we were the best of friends. And
Yeah.
then I got my father reacquainted with them. And
How did that feel?
oh, it was good. Yeah, no. And subsequent trips, my sisters went over, made themselves known, had them. They came and visited, stayed with us. And so, yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
It was really, they're great. I'm blessed with great family over there on both sides, on my mom's side and my dad's side. They're really, really, really great people.
Yeah, that's great. In America here, we got first cousins, but there's second cousins, third cousins.
Yeah, and so many of them I don't even know.
Right, and you don't know them. You don't really keep in touch with them. But you go over to Ireland and you find a third or fourth cousin over there, and you're like, hey, let's go out,
right.
Let's meet up. Yeah,
right. But then you know how it is with certain people when you connect, you hit it off, and then
Yeah, absolutely. So you go over there. Is there any particular pubs in that area, Tipperary, that if you go over there a lot, that you have any like local haunts that you like?
There's a great place in the town of Feather called McCarthy's, and it's a pretty historical place. If you look it up, it's got quite a history and quite a reputation. A lot of American celebrities have been there, filmed in Feathered, and it was filmed in McCarthy's.
Okay. Did you there's a book?
It was an okay movie, wasn't it?
Have you ever read the book McCarthy's Bar?
No.
It's a guy. So it's a guy whose family is from Ireland, but I think he lives in London, or he at some point went to London, grew up there as a young boy, but he does have family back here, but he comes back to Ireland. I read it a while ago, so he comes home to Ireland and he travels all over Ireland, and his whole thing was, you never pass a bar that's got your name on it.
I mean, and I recommend this to anybody traveling through Ireland or if you're in Tipperary, definitely go to the little town called Feather, and there is a place called McCarthy's.
Yeah.
It's a real step back in time.
I'm sure I'll be there. I'm going next week. I'm going to be up in Derry. I'm meeting up with Dermot.
Oh, that's right. You're going to meet with Dermot, the guy. Well,
yeah.
And if you talk about pubs, my favorite place there is just Dermot's local. It's called Daly's. It just reminds me of what all the pubs in the Bronx used to be. Very family oriented, lively, crowded, people in there, everybody having dinner. They all know each other. They're all shouting over from table to table. There'll be music on, or they'll have the match on, There's a little pub out in the front where the younger kids will go hang out there, all in the same building.
Yeah.
Guys behind the bar, white shirt and tie, just really true to their trade, not these bartenders that we have in America today. They're just, doing the tip dance, I call it, just trying to see where they can. It's just none of that. It's just good old what it used to be here.
Yeah.
And if you're there, I haven't taken the Dailies.
We'll definitely be stopping there. Yeah. That's one of the things I like highlighting on the podcast is the fact that there's a lot of pubs out there that had that, what you were talking about, and either they don't have that anymore or they're gone, which that's actually more of the case where the bars, the pubs closed, doesn't even exist anymore, especially in the Bronx.
Oh, they're gone. Yeah.
They're gone. And
it's not what everybody thinks, nobody's doing shots or any of that. It's just a social place. Relax. You have a few drinks, mostly guys sip their pints of Guinness. Yeah. And it's it's a great experience. I feel very at home and very comfortable when I'm there.
Yeah. Same here. I love it. I'm going over like probably twice a year now, but those are the places that I do try and find. So I'm looking forward to going to Dermot's place. So,
and he knows them all because I go hiking with these guys over, right over the line in Donegal with him and his buddies, which are great.
Now you met Dermot back. He used to bartend at the Kinsale in Manhattan.
Yes, that's where I knew him from. Him and his wife Ann both worked there. Ann was a waitress there. Dermot was a bartender, and they lived in Woodlawn. And I got to be good friends with them. And I was in touch with them the first few years they were back. Then you know how life happens. Ended up getting promoted, moved around here and there, married, blah, blah. And we kind of fell out of touch. And then I guess it was right around the time of the pandemic. I go, wait a minute, this is like, I got to go track this guy down. And I found him through his, he works with his brother. They have a little electronics company in Derry City.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I ended up got him, and it was great. Then it's typical like with guys where, you know, or I should say, just like a fireman relationship, you hadn't seen a
Yeah.
guy in 20 years. You'll
Yeah.
never get, hey, how come you never called me? It
Yeah.
was like you just
It's
met
just like yesterday.
20 minutes ago. You
Yeah.
just pick right up, you know. And
Yeah. And you know what? I kind of feel like that's even with myself and you. It had to be 10 years ago, at least 10 years that went by. I probably
oh
didn't even
yeah,
see you, you
because
know,
I left the
and
fire department. I got involved in the industry I work today, and it's busy full time, and I really don't have time to do a lot of the fire department functions anymore. So
yeah,
I stay in
well,
touch with that.
life goes on. There's life
Yeah,
beyond the fire
exactly.
department. Yeah. Yeah. Life goes on. But it's great that we have all those memories. Do you have any particular memories from the bagpipe band?
Oh, the one story was that I was telling you was about Portleash Prison. With
Oh,
Joe
yeah. That's
Murphy.
a great story. That's a great story.
Well, I could give that to you again. That's got to be probably the one I will never top. And I was kind of like an innocent victim in it.
Start from the
My-
beginning with that. Start from the beginning with that story.
So myself, Bobby Wright, and Joe Murphy, we went off. We were over there for a week with the band. And then after that, I said, hey, guys, come on, we'll stay with me for a week. We'll stay with my family. I'll go down, visit my mom's family and my family in Tipperary. I knew they would love these guys. So we did just that. In fact, I have a great tape that my cousin Connie made down in Killarney of Joe Murphy singing and playing. They had like a Kaylee when we were there in my cousin's house. It's a really good tape, it's an old VHS thing that I
Can I get a
kinda
copy of
recorded,
that?
but I have a great photograph of Joe Murphy singing. Actually, I sent it to his family.
Okay.
But anyway, that was on that trip. But after that, we went up to Tipperary with the Whites, stayed there for a few days, and we had fun in town there. We bagpipe back from McCarthy's back to my uncle's place at like 2:00 in the morning in this little town. We made the newspaper. From the 1980s, this happened. They still to this day talk about that in that town. But that's what I'm known as. One of the Yanks who played the pipes
The
at
2 a.m.
2:00 in the morning.
bagpiper?
But we're there all night. We wheeled ourselves home after that, and then the next day we're all hungover. I forget where we were headed to after that. But Joe's telling us, he goes, well, I had a friend when I was in the Marines. This guy, he always wanted to join the IRA. And things were still going on then. Up in the north, we didn't go up to the north in those days. Things were still going on. So Joe says, yeah, this guy, he's in Portleash prison, and he explained he was part of something. They were trying to smuggle weapons into Ireland and da 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 da. So Bobby and I didn't really pay much mind to it. Like, yeah, okay. He's like, yeah, I had to make this appointment like 2 months ago. You guys just drop me off. I'll go do my thing, and then a couple hours you can pick me up.
So
Great,
this
no
guy
problem.
was from Ireland, but he went to America, became a Marine. Is that how it was?
He grew up in Long Island. I don't know if he was born in Ireland, but he went to school in Long Island. There's actually a book written on him. In fact, I have it here. I'll show you the title. But anyway, Joe knew this guy. So Bobby and we pull up in front of Portleash Prison. I don't know if you're familiar with the place. It's a big deal. Heavy security. So Bobby and I dropped Joe off. We're hungover, it was the night before we were tearing up feathered and having a good time. So we go into the town of Portleash, find a little place to eat, had a nice Irish breakfast. All's good. We go back to get Joe a couple hours later. Bobby has a newspaper, and we pull up right across the street and on the shoulder of the road and a rental car, which probably wasn't a good thing to do, but what do we know? Yeah. So I'm standing there talking to Bobby Wright. Bobby goes, Whitey, he goes, don't move. I go, why? What's the matter? He says, don't move. I said, all right, what's going on? He says, there's a machine gun in that tower pointed right at us and a guy with binoculars. We thought we were going to get taken out. So, of course, I did turn around and look, and we saw there was a problem there, so we put down the newspapers and all that with that. a guy, one of the guards, comes out. He was the nicest guy in the world. He explained what was going on. Well, they don't know who you guys are. This guy was a high-profile prisoner. I was like, what? So
Wow.
come to find out, this guy was part of the operation where they were smuggling guns from the Boston mob. That guy, Whitey Bulger, was involved. It's all in this book. Somebody ratted them out. The leak came out in America. So these guys didn't even set sail when they were being followed by a CIA satellite. And the Irish Navy was waiting for them. I think they grabbed them outside of Kerry, somewhere down there. They arrested them all. Not too long before we were there was a big prison break attempt, and this guy was part of it. So we were sailing into a hornet's nest, and we didn't even know about this. And Joe, of course, tells us all this stuff later on. But
just knowing Joe, like I could just see that. I could just
he
see him.
was like it was nothing,
Yeah.
So we pick him up and we're pulling away. And now I'm thinking, this car's in my name. Now I'm on some FBI watch list, because I, probably ran the plate back to some knucklehead, Tom Whyte. And pulling away, that gun followed us all the way. Oh, I'm telling you, it was interesting.
Back in the 90s. So when I went up to Northern Ireland, that was the first time I ever experienced something like that, where when you were crossing the border, there was machine guns on the hillsides pointing at where you had to go through the security area.
Well, Dermot could fill you in on that. He grew up in the middle of all that.
Yeah.
They really.
I'm sure I'll hear some stories. I want to get Dermot to come on the podcast. I'm sure he'll have.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I want to get Dermot to come on the podcast. Maybe he'll have some good stories. Yeah. So you've been friends with him for a while. You go on your hiking trips. Actually, that's when I contacted you. I had noticed that you were always posting pictures on your Facebook with hiking up these mountains all over Ireland. Oh, that's in Donegal? Okay.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of hiking with his group.
Dermot brought me right into those guys. Like the first time that I went to see him, after all those years, and I was over, they took me right into their hiking group. In fact, this time I was there, they had me swimming and down in what's the beach is called, Kingsbridge, I think. It was cold water. It was a great day.
Yeah,
good guys. You'll really like these guys.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Have you ever been up to that place? It's up in it's in Donegal, Downings. There's a couple of pubs there. The Singing Pub, the Harbor Bar.
I might have been. I'm terrible with names.
Yeah.
We usually hit a different place every time we're done hiking.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Did you ever do Crowpatrick?
No, I have not.
So I haven't done that either. I'd like to do that one.
Yeah, no, that's on my list. On my own, I've done Sleeve Them On. I did the Galties, one of the Galties.
Okay.
I went up that one, and then right outside my grandmother's house, or the house my mom grew up in, down in Kerry. There's two mountains right next to each other called the Paps, and I did one of those. That was pretty cool. On my own, I went up.
Do you have any family folklore, any anecdotes, any kind of maybe myths or legends that your grandparents told you?
St. Oliver Plunkett.
Okay.
We're supposedly descendants of him.
Really?
Yeah, that's what in the White family.
Now, have you done the ancestry or any of the DNA stuff?
Me personally, no. I have cousins in the States that have done it, and then also cousins in Ireland that have done it. In fact, my last time I was over, me and my cousin Pat were restoring an old cottage on his property, an old famine era cottage, and I got so busy working with him, I never really got a chance to get up to Offaly and Westmeath to see the rest of it. But I have one, I guess she would be a second cousin that she's working on all that, and she's the one, I guess, that has the information about the firemen from Brooklyn.
Any other stories?
Just from going back, got to be great friends with the Dublin Fire Brigade. And the good thing about Facebook is other than all the nonsense that goes on Facebook, all the fighting and everything, but the good thing is you can keep these relationships going. There's a couple guys from the Dublin Fire Brigade I still keep in contact with. cousins and family that you meet. It's a great tool for that.
I agree. Yeah, I've been in touch with like John Daly and those guys. I do have a story. I remember, I'm pretty sure you were there. It was one of my earlier days in the band where we went up to Binghamton for a St. Patrick's Day parade up in Binghamton, and we were hanging out with some of those Binghamton firemen up there, and we were playing Johnny on the Pony. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I remember is the line was fairly long, and I ran as far as I could, as fast as I could, and came off, and I went flying through the door. my head first through the door.
That was Jim Ginty always got us into playing that game.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh man. Yeah, they were fun trips. Band bus trips were nothing better than those times.
They were good. Listen, Tommy, this was great. I'm really glad we got to do this. Well, if you come up with any other stories, we can do Tommy Whyte Part 2.
Absolutely.
Future trips to Ireland, we'll come back and revisit.
I'll have to have one of those black cans of Guinness to kind of get that memory going. Again, this is the book I was telling you about with the guy that Joe Murphy knew. The true story of a former U.S. Marine in the Irish Republican Army. But that's the book. It's a pretty good read.
Yeah,
it's a good read. Crawley, I think, was the guy's name.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna look that up. That was a great story. All right, Tommy, great seeing you, and I'm sure we'll see each other soon at some event or something.
All right, Tim.
All right,
and listen,
thanks.
Have a good time over there. Next week you're going?
Yeah, I'm going next week. Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah, I'm jealous.
Yeah,
I wish I was on a bomb. I'm going to be there like a month later, but give my best to all the boys over there in Derry.
I will. All right.